C'est bon? Hello.
Hello,
Michael. Hello. How are you, Michael? Good to see you.
I'm very well. How are you? I cannot see you, but you can see me. You can hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. We see you. I'm here together with Dr. Ilami Egun, who you know very well, and Tassos Economou. On Tassos Economou, as you recall, 2.5 years ago, we had a similar session, and you were talking to us about this project, the Axiom project, on a trip to the International Space Station. It was 2.5 years ago. It was September 2020, and here we are. So, Michael, let me go quickly to the first question. Since you're really making history, and how can we describe the future of manned space flights, and where do we go from there?
First of all, let me say hello to my good friend Ilami and also to Tassos. I'd like to say it's good to see you again, but it's good to know you're in the room. Michel, I think that we've started a new era in human spaceflight where it's not only for government astronauts anymore, but also for private citizens, private companies, and other entities. So this is a very first exciting step. Here we've got a private crew of 4 individuals joining a professional crew of 7 individuals, 3 Russians, 3 Americans, and 1 German. And of course, my crew is 2 Americans, 1 Israeli, and 1 Canadian. So it's quite international, as is fitting on the International Space Station. And we're working just side by side with our professional colleagues doing the same kind of work. And it's been going great. So I think the future of human spaceflight is very bright.
Fantastic. And Ilami, Dr. Egun, you have a question that you want to ask.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Ilami, good to hear you.
Perfect to see you in the space. I think this is one of your old home. I just want to talk about something about you. Hello again. Congratulations.
I never thought I'd do that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You are actually one of the heroes of the space flights. I just want to give some numbers about you. You have been in ISS for 215 days, the longest time stay in ISS. I mean, I think the 5th longest space flight of an American. You have all-time American record of number of spacewalks in the extravehicular activity, EVAs, 10 times. And I think the longest American EVA duration of 67 hours and 40 minutes, which is the 2nd in the world. And during these missions, you have been on board 3 times, I think, in ISS. And now you are again there at I could say that in your home. My question actually, what will be the next generation ISS look like? I mean, you're not there only as a tourism, but I think you will do very important scientific experiments. What do you suggest for the newcomers and the new willingness, the guys who wants to come to the space station?
Well, I definitely want to thank our partners in all of this, NASA and ESA. We're actually in the ESA, European Space Agency Columbus module, and talking to you via some European Space Agency assets. And, I think the future is collaboration continuing. I also think that, again, kids who want to go to space don't have to dream about being government astronauts anymore. They can dream about being researchers with perhaps universities or other companies, or be very, very good at what you do, become wealthy, and fly as a private astronaut. So there's quite a bit of opportunity in the future. And I think, as I told Michel, I think the future is very bright. You have to excuse, there's a lot of traffic in here. There's work going on here. This is a working laboratory, and people are always shuffling back and forth, as you can see, floating My colleague here to my left is doing an experiment. Actually, not an experiment, but he's weighing himself, which, as you can imagine, is difficult in space. But there's a device that uses Newton's second law: force equals mass times acceleration. So we have a certain force, we can measure the acceleration, and from that we can get the mass. Anyway, just an example of some of the very interesting science that's going on up here.
So, Michael, let me switch now to Tassos. Tassos, as we all know, is the chairman of the Young President Organization Worldwide. Tassos, what is your question to Michael?
Michael, first, great. It's lovely to see you floating up in space. You look a lot lighter, which is lovely. My question is, as you're up there, what future opportunities do you see for YPO pioneering leaders? I mean, what are some of the key business opportunities that you see in space going forward?
Well, great question. I did point out, but the colleague that I mentioned who's being weighed, I believe, is the president of the Canadian chapter of YPO. Is that right?
No, just the executive. No, not
He's a key member of the Canadian
the executive, right?
of the executive. Mark Baffin. This is Tassos. He's the. Well, he can't see you, but
Tassos Academy?
Yeah, he knows you, Tassos.
I don't know him. I know his father.
Mark Baffin.
I don't know his father.
In any case,
It's a pleasure to say hi in space, I guess, these days.
Yeah, that's Tassos.
So, future generations for entrepreneurs. I mean, opportunities for entrepreneurs. I think the sky is the limit, or the sky is no limit in a way. There is a lot of opportunity for research and especially technology development. So we do pretty much anything that takes advantage of the microgravity environment. So if there is a product or even a service that works well in microgravity, this is the place to do it. And historically, that's been the case to do it through the government agencies, but it's been very, very difficult. As you can imagine, there's a lot of, I hate to say it, bureaucracy involved, and we feel like we offer a little bit more accelerated path. And I think that will be the future when other companies beside Axiom also have their own commercial platforms in space to do this kind of research. So, it's a bit of an ecosystem, if you will. For a long time, when we were doing very short missions into space, the ground was sort of the infrastructure. And as we start to do missions into deeper space, low Earth orbit can become an infrastructure part. So we're building on top of the infrastructure in low Earth orbit to go outbound. And so any kind of activity that involves exploration, research development, technology development is very well suited for applications in space.
Lost the signal in about 1 minute.
Michael, you recall 2 years ago when we met and we had this conversation online, actually, you mentioned to us that protecting the planet and how this responsibility of protecting the planet lays in the hands of the young. So how have you seen this evolve over the last past 2 years, 2.5 years? And what would be your advice protecting the planet with the young moving forward? What would be your advice moving forward?
Yeah, so just in case you didn't hear that, we have about 30 seconds to go. Look, I think, again, the space technologies are very cutting edge when it comes to protecting the planet and especially monitoring the planet. I can think of a young satellite company that started that is able to monitor methane emissions very locally. And that's obviously very helpful if you can pinpoint areas or perhaps even a factory that is a methane producer. So that's just an example. And I hope we are not losing comm too much. I did want to share with you a little bit of zero microgravity beverages. This is orange juice, which, as you can see, forms a sphere. And voila. We don't have any. Sorry, I had to get that before it got away. Anyway, I'm afraid we are losing our signal. Tell me if you can still see me.
It's a very first time for all of us. That's it. All right. Good.
Perfect.
Pour la
Station, we've resumed signal. We'll continue through 1200 GMT and use the full time.
Okay, thanks.
Michael?
Yep.
Yeah, great. So we're very happy to resume our conversation. Just one quick question. So between this, the time that we were disconnected, do you know what kind of distance you covered?
Well, what would you estimate? That was about 4 minutes, maybe. So 4 times 60 is 240 times 8 is about 1,800 kilometers. Yeah, we go pretty fast, about 8 kilometers per second. And we're at an altitude of 400 kilometers above the surface. So we go around the Earth about once every 90 minutes, which is obviously nice. And the Earth is turning beneath us, so we actually see a different part of the Earth for every rotation. About half nighttime and about half daytime. Actually, a little more day than night usually, but yeah, it's spectacular. You can imagine the view is crazy.
Hard to imagine, but yeah, trying hard. Ilami Agun, Dr. Agun, you got another question before we get disconnected again?
Yeah, and I think Michael will make us a demonstration of the orange juice.
Yes.
Michael,
Oh yeah, look at that breakfast. Yes.
Wow. At the same time, I
Not
want
to
to
be
ask
used
you.
All right.
Boom. Very good. Very good.
Go ahead. Go to your question.
All right.
Well
done. Okay, Ilami.
Michael, you have been flown actually on board 3 space shuttles, and I think one time with the Russian Soyuz launcher, and this time with the SpaceX Crew Dragon. Could you just, generally make a kind of comparison? What did you feel during this flight?
Well, I would say the Crew Dragon, the feeling physiological is very similar to the Soyuz. I mean, they're both 2-stage rockets, and actually the Soyuz is 3 stages, but basically the first stage and the second stage are just the same amount of same kind of propulsion, different boosters. In all cases, it's very similar to some degree. You feel a lot of acceleration. The shuttle had a lot more